Hello everyone, it's Mrs. Frobase, and today in the studio, I'll be teaching you some tips and techniques on how to create tie-dye. So first you want to get yourself a t-shirt or any kind of material that's made of cotton. I'm going to be using some aprons for the art room. The basic supplies that you'll need are your dyes, rubber gloves, and rubber bands. Some optional supplies that will help keep your colors bright include soda ash, which you would mix with water to pre-soak your fabrics. Organic nitrogen for dyeing, you would mix a little bit, about a teaspoon in with each of your dye colors, and vinegar and salt to soak afterwards. So the first thing I always do is pre-soak my fabrics in soda ash for about a half an hour. Then I'm just going to wring them out, squeeze out as much as I can, and I'm going to tie them with the rubber bands. The first design I'm going to create is the traditional spiral. So I'm going to choose where I want to start, pinch it, and I'm just going to start to twist and turn till all of the fabric just kind of spirals around that center point. Don't worry about it being perfect. Just kind of scrunch it up and make it nice and tight, and then grab your rubber bands in order to hold it together. I'm going to start with one around the outside to keep it closed. And then I'm going to create some diagonals, kind of like pieces of a pie. And this is going to help create the design with the spiral and maybe separate some of my colors a little bit. Next, I'm going to create a rainbow design, and it's going to be along the bottom of this apron. So I'm going to pinch it right in the middle. This is actually going to be the last color of my rainbow, so when I dye it, this part's going to be the violet. And I'm just going to keep gathering it along the top, working my way upward, and just rubber banding as tight as I can. And I want to make sure that I make as many colors as I want in my rainbow, so probably 6 or 7. And then if there's extra room at the top, that will be part of my sky. So I'm going to either leave that and use some colors for the sky. You can rubber band and just keep going with your rainbow until the end. It's up to you. You're the artist. And I'm just going to check my colors, and I need one more because I would like 6 colors in my rainbow. And I think I'm just going to leave the top unbanded. That's going to be part of my sky. All right, my next design is going to be a heart shape. So what you're going to need to do for this one is fold it in half. So we're only going to do half of the heart and create it symmetrically. You're going to need a washable marker. Be sure it's washable because you want that marker line to wash out afterwards. So starting on the fold, I'm going to create half of the heart, draw it with the washable marker. And I'm going to start to gather like an accordion fold all along the line. I'm keeping the line matching up with each other so it's nice and straight. Trickiest part is getting around the curve. Just turn the fabric, keep that line that you drew straight, and just keep folding it kind of like an accordion. And when that line is all matched up along there, that's where you're going to put the rubber band. You're going to hold it right along that edge of the line and cover the line with the rubber band. You can actually do this with any shape that's symmetrical. It doesn't have to be a heart. Now that folded part on the inside is going to be the center of your heart. So if you want to gather and rubber band after that, those will be colors kind of radiating around your heart. So you can make as many bands after that as you'd like colors around your heart. My next design is going to be to create some random bursts of color, like some little circles. So all I'm going to do is pinch and gather a few sections randomly, and I'm going to rubber band them twice. And once you're finished tying, you're going to grab your gloves, mix up your dyes according to the directions, usually just adding some water. And I also use a tray and some kind of a grate over top if you have it. I've also just done trays. I've done it in the grass. But what I actually used here is just an old locker stand. I took the legs off and I put it over this plastic bin. This will help catch all the excess and allow it to not be able to mix with all the other colors and get too muddy. So I'm going to just put the colors in between each of the different banded sections. The bands will kind of keep it tight and might even, if you don't have a lot of the dye in there, will be kind of white sections, or it'll kind of bleed into there a little bit. Tie-dye is pretty messy and kind of an experiment and a surprise to see what turns out in the end. So don't worry about if you get some colors splashed in different sections and different colors get in areas you didn't want them to be. That's all part of the fun and the interesting design that will turn out in the end. Once you've finished adding the dye, take a plastic grocery bag and place it inside. I like to let this sit overnight. The longer the better. So just kind of wrap it up, fold it over, tuck it away somewhere, and let it sit about overnight to let the dyes really soak in there permanently. And here I have two of my spiral designs that I'm going to work on. And what I like to do is try to keep each section a little bit of a different color. You might do a pattern. I'm working on a rainbow design here. And I want to cover it completely, really soak it up on one side, and then I'm going to flip them over and repeat it on the other side as well. All right, now you want to wear some gloves again and find a sink you can get really messy in, and we're going to remove all of the rubber bands and reveal our designs. What you want to do then is thoroughly rinse out until the water almost runs clear. Don't be worried if it looks super dark in the beginning. It is going to lighten up once you start rinsing out the color. Ooh, and look how beautiful. Sometimes some of the rubber bands can be really tricky to get off, especially if they're tied really tightly, plus you're wearing rubber gloves, so you might have to cut them. Just be careful when you're using the scissors in the water, and also with not cutting your fabric. Just kind of slide it underneath and cut one of the bands. That'll help get off those rubber bands a little more easily. Ooh, this one's the gorgeous rainbow design. Now, an optional step after you rinse them out and before washing them is to soak them in some salt and vinegar to help hold the color. Or if you have the luxury of being at the beach, you could always untie them and rinse them out in the salty water. Once the majority of the excess dye is rinsed out, I usually throw them in and do just a very quick wash and then throw them in the dryer and then they'll be all finished.